Hey everybody, my name is Jennifer. This is Metatron speaking. Today we're going to be talking about pendulums. How to use a pendulum. Normally I prepare just a little bit more for my videos, but Metatron just kind of wanted me to get on and do this. So I brought my pendulum. So let's just talk about pendulums. So pendulums, the purpose for using them is to obtain yes or no answers from the divine. So some basics that you'll need to know if you're interested in doing this. First thing is, what kind of pendulum do you use? So there are lots of different kinds. There are lots of different, here's the cord, here's the tip of mine. So there are lots of different shapes of the actual pendulum that you can get. There's lots of different types of stones that you can get, either natural or man-made. What Metatron recommended to me, once I could actually hear him, was black obsidian. But not just any black obsidian. I was on Etsy and I was asking him, hey, this one, and like I was asking him for all the cheap ones because I didn't want to spend $1 million. And he chose a very specific seller that I got this from. And I'm not gonna lie, it was expensive. It was like $60 something, which is more than I wanted to spend, but I kid you not, it's the most amazing pendulum. I will link her Etsy shop in the description in case you're interested. You don't have to buy an expensive pendulum for it to be an effective pendulum. You do want it to have enough weight that it can respond to things. If it's too light, you can't get it to work, but that's a lie because I'll show you. Technically anything can be a pendulum, including this necklace. It's just not ideal because the less balanced what you use is, let's see if we can do this. The less balanced what you use is, and the less weighted, the more energy is needed to go through your hand to make this happen. Now this is a very awkward arm position. This is not the arm position that you would take. I have to do this so you can see it on camera. But Metatron, can you do a yes? So that's a yes. And Metatron, can you do a no? I know I'm asking a lot for a freaking necklace, but yeah, see how he did that? That was really nice. Very nice job, Metatron. So yeah, so black obsidian is what Metatron recommends, and that pointed shape is what he recommended to me. I have other ones that I like, but this one is really just the best one. When you hold your pendulum, let me just go over that since we kind of just talked about that. So you're not going to hold it up here like a crazy person. You will, like, how do I hold it? And see, you can't see because I have a funny, if I probably hold it almost, so if your arm is by your side and you have your arm out at like a 90-degree angle from your elbow, I probably tilt my arm up just a tiny bit, but you basically want to be reasonably relaxed in your body when you're holding it. You want to have enough length on this that it can have a swing to it. You hold it with your thumb and your pointer finger here, so you're not going to squeeze the heck out of it. You can. You want to just hold it enough that you have control of it, but not so that you're squeezing it to death, so that the energy has a chance to move through it. He's saying hi to everybody, aren't you? He's going to hit me in the face to say hi to you guys. Okay. What else? Let's see. I know I wrote down some thoughts. Oh, when you first get your pendulum, clear it. So if you don't know Reiki, or if you don't want to run it underwater because you might like rust it, use your visualization. So imagine dark energy coming off of it and just transmute that into something of the light. Glitter, rainbows, whatever's pretty and wonderful to you, clouds, bunny rabbits, whatever. just something that represents light instead of that dark cloud that you've visualized. When you're using your pendulum when you first start out, it's probably better to either be standing, not leaning against something, or sitting with your feet maybe flat on the floor. I'm cross-legged where I am right now, and I can do that now, but when I first started, it would kind of interfere with the flow of energy. So it's the same reason why you don't want to like lean on something and try to get this, because you want the energy to be able to flow freely through you, through your arm. What else? Figure out who you want to work with. So it's really important when you're working with a pendulum that you're very clear with who you want to work with. And I highly recommend you work with only a archangel or an ascended master. And the reason for that is that while other guides are wonderful and helpful, or other entities can be wonderful and helpful, you want guides, and you want guides that have access to the highest possible form of information. So while everyone might be helpful, it's somebody who's at an archangel or an ascended master level that can really see the big picture and how it might impact you, and so they can give you better answers, is what I'm going to say. So that would be my recommendation. Everything that I'm telling you, it's not the only answer out there. If you were to listen to somebody else talk about using a pendulum, they might give you different information, and that's going to be the truth for them. You might find that some of the things I tell you feel really accurate to you, and other things you might be like, not so much. And so you can do what you can assess the information how you need to, and take from what I'm saying what feels right to you. The downside to using a pendulum or anything that's used to communicate with the divine is that it is just as easy to communicate with the not divine. Oh my gosh, you're gonna hit me again. So just be mindful of that. It's the reason that I've hesitated for so long to make this video is for that reason, because you can get what I call interference. You're trying to talk to an angel, and instead something of a lower vibration is coming through trying to mislead you. So when you're supposed to be getting a yes answer, it's coming in and giving you the no answer, and you think that's from an angel, and it's not. So there is that risk there. There's no 100% guaranteed way for me to teach you how to avoid it. There's no 100% way that I can avoid it myself. I've had to learn over time to assess energies better. So some of the things that you can use to help you discern is, what is the information I'm being given? Is this information kind? Is this information loving? Because when you are speaking with a demonic entity, they, if you were to, let's pretend you said, ooh, Metatron, am I ugly? And so he's going to switch to no because it's Metatron. But anything if you're getting an answer on your pendulum that's making you feel bad about yourself in some way, or it's shaming you in some way, you are not talking to an angel. So keep that in the back of your mind. See, this is why I plan my videos, so I can have a train of thought that doesn't bounce around too much the way my train of thought does. So assuming that you're in a decent position to hold things, and I'm going to hold it up higher for you guys. So now that you have your pendulum, you cleared your pendulum, you've said, okay, this is who I want to speak to on my pendulum, and you're you want to get started asking your yes or no questions. Well, first you need to find out, what does a yes or a no look like on your pendulum? Because people do have different ways of doing things. So this is Metatron's way of patiently waiting for me. For me, whichever way I'm facing, swinging towards my body and away from my body is a yes, and swinging this way is a no. And every once in a while I'll ask something and he'll just go in circles like crazy and can mean different things depending on what I've asked. Most of the time I've asked something that I'm not allowed to know the answer to, or if I'm talking to somebody else, they're going to get the answer, because Metatron's the only one who has all the answers. So let's say this is my pendulum. This is my first time I ever had it, and I'm like, okay, let's talk to the pendulum. Okay. Metatron, can you show me what a yes looks like on my pendulum? And he is doing such a good job right now because I am so stiff with my arm up. Oh my gosh, he's doing a good job. Thank you. So you'll ask your pendulum, show me what a yes it looks like. And they'll show you what a yes looks like. You're going to hit me. Metatron, can you show me what a no looks like? I know you're probably going to hit my arm. And he shows you what a no looks like. So that is kind of calibrating your pendulum so that you know what to look for in the answers. And that's basically it. So you can start asking questions. There are certain questions that you need to be mindful of the way you are phrasing things. So one of the first things I wanted to do when I had my pendulum is I wanted to start asking questions about should. Ooh, should I move here? Should I take this job? Should I tell so-and-so XYZ? Whatever, should I? Don't ask should I questions, because those are like free will judgment calls, and those are up to you, the soul, to decide. They are not here to boss you around. So some of the language that I will use on my pendulum instead is, let's say I'm trying to find a new job and I have 2 different job offers, and my instinct is to say, oh, should I take this job? You can't ask it that way. So instead, you can say, Metatron, would it be in my best and highest interests to take job XYZ? And he will say, no. And I'll say, Metatron, is it in my best and highest interests to take this job over here, this other one? And he will say, yes. So you can do it that way to kind of get around the roadblock. Trying to think what other questions you can't really get away with on a pendulum. That's the only one that sticks out to me. Of course, I'm going to think of them after I get off of here. But that's basically it. Be careful with what answers you're getting. If you have extrasensory abilities right now where you can kind of sense energy, that is a bonus. If you can tell you're getting like a funny vibe, then don't trust it. Another thing is, if you get an answer and it just doesn't feel right, come back to it again later. Maybe your vibration is a little bit too low in the moment. That's what I want to bring up to you. If you're emotional, if you're sad, if you're angry, if the question you're asking about is really emotional to you, like you're like, is so-and-so going to be okay? So there's a couple layers to that question that we'll touch on. So the first level is you're emotional asking the question because you want this person to be okay. So when you do that, it can compromise the energy because your energy is in a fearful place, which is a lower vibration, or a sad place. So keep that in mind. You can always ask the question again later when you're not in that space. The second thing is, the question I just asked, is so-and-so going to be okay? So I'm asking a future question. So people love asking future questions. I love asking future questions. You can only ask so much, you can only ask so far, and the answer can only be so accurate. So, you know, some things are none of our business to know. So if you ask, is so and so going to die? That's really none of our business, and so they are not likely to give you an answer. It doesn't help us to know that answer, right? Other future questions that maybe are our business, there are so many moving parts to the future that Metatron can give you his best guess. And if you're gonna ask a future question, that's who you would ask, because he's the all-knowing one. But Metatron can give you his best guess, but it is only his best guess because he is making assumptions on how other people will choose things. Everyone has free will. So you can say, oh, and the way you would phrase it is you wouldn't say, am I going to get this job? Because that's a very finite question. You can't ask it that way. So you'd have to say to Metatron, is it highly likely? Is it highly likely that this place will want to hire me? And he says yes. But at the end of the day, the boss or HR or whoever it is that's making the decisions, they have free will and they can change their mind. Metatron can only look at the facts and go, it's really reasonable for them to make this choice. But human beings aren't always reasonable, are we? So be careful with your future questions. The past questions are always correct. If you're like, hey, was I a witch in the past? Do I have a fire dragon that is a male for my spirit guide? If you ask things that are in the present or in the past, they're going to be accurate. It's when you dabble with the future that he can only do so much for you. So just be aware of that. But that is everything I have on pendulums. If you have any questions, post them in the comments and I will be sure to get to them, okay? Until next time, you guys. Bye-bye.